ever seen this painting before? Hold on. Take a moment and look closer. You got it? This infamous painting is known as A Sunday Afternoon on the Island of La Grande Jatte by Georges Seurat. This is by far one of two masterpieces of Seurat's time, at a monumental scale. And what was the first, you ask? Well, take a look at this painting. Do you recognize this? This painting is called Bathers at Asnieres. It was Seurat's very first major canvas drawing, painted back in 1884, and is commonly overlooked when comparing this to Sunday on La Grande Jatte. Well, what's the big deal? So what, it's overlooked? Well, little do many know that this painting, Bathers at Asnieres, was a pivotal moment in Georges Seurat's life that would greatly affect his future, helping influence and produce one of the greatest pointillism masterpieces in the world, A Sunday Afternoon on the Island of La Grande Jatte. But in order to break down how and why this happened, and the significance of Bathers at Asnieres, we must understand Seurat's background first. Georges Seurat was born in 1859 in Paris, France, which at the time was considered the center of the art world. Seurat lived within a prosperous family and was encouraged to pursue art, taking informal lessons from his maternal uncle. It wasn't until 16 years old that Seurat attended a local art school where he met his fellow artist, Edmond Armand-Jean. At 19 years old in 1878, Seurat and Armand-Jean decided to enter Paris's best-known art school, École des Beaux-Arts. Here, Seurat found inspiration from artists such as Italian Renaissance artist Raphael and early 19th century French artists J.A.D. Ingres and Eugène Delacroix. It didn't take long before Seurat stopped showing up to his classes, beginning to focus on original works. In 1881, Seurat set up a studio where he began practicing his painting and sketches. He used a smeary graphite clay crayon, also known as a Conte crayon, and used this against bumpy paper. In the light, Seurat noticed these drawings had a luminescent quality about them. While experimenting with color, Seurat also established a crisscross brushstroke method to allow these paintings to shimmer with light. One day while Georges Seurat was out of the studio, he came across the work of some impressionist artists at an art show. These types of artists were known for capturing happy, candid moments of everyday life by using quickly brushed, colorful flecks of paint on their canvas. While Seurat was intrigued by this popular movement, he ultimately thought he could do better. In 1883, Seurat began painting Bathers at Asnieres, where he worked slowly and tediously. He went to the riverside during the day to produce sketches, and during the night, Seurat would carefully place these drawings onto the large canvas. The finished product itself was almost 6 feet high and 10 feet wide. To look at a closer scope, this work shows 7 men and boys in various types of clothing, either in the water or sprawled on the grass of La Grande Jatte. It appears to be a summer's day with shimmering trees and shiny water as boats parade in the distance. This large composition seems to also allude to a working-class atmosphere, as the clothes on the men and the industrial buildings in the distance suggest that it is not the beautiful French countryside. With regards to the painting's construction, it is a hazy work saturated with summer heat. We can see that the light weighs more heavily here than in the shadows. According to the French painter Paul Signac, it was painted in broad, smooth brushstrokes placed atop of one another in a palette of ochres and more vivid colors. Like Delacroix, which was previously mentioned, he blended his colors in individual areas. Ultimately, Bathers at Asnieres was exhibited at the Salon des Indépendants Artistes. Not only did this painting gain him attention, however, it got his name out amongst artists who didn't want to follow the traditional Impressionist manifesto, which was popular during the time. Instead, this painting was a gateway for Seurat to form a new collective movement called the Neo-Impressionist, which focused on color, light, and composition. Neo-Impressionists foregrounded the science of optics and color to forge new ways to paint and create more luminescent paintings that depicted modern life. This movement, stemming from Bathers and Asnieres, significantly inspired Seurat to work on his masterpiece, Sunday on the Island of Le Grand Jatte. Within support from the Neo-Impressionists, Seurat had the confidence to explore and experiment with color theory, inventing the painting technique pointillism that is used throughout the painting of Sunday on the Island of Le Grand Jatte. Similar to Bathers and Asnieres, Seurat also implemented the same process of collecting sketches and bringing them back to the large canvas so he could paint this masterpiece to the same scale as Bathers. All in all, with the help of Bathers and Asnieres, this paved the way for Georges Seurat to gain support and respect to his name. That overall pushed him to extend his boundaries in creating the grand masterpiece, which we all know and love, Sunday on the Island of Le Grand Jatte in 1884. Though this was his pointillism masterpiece, Seurat went on to make many more pointillism paintings, despite critics, until he was 32 when he died suddenly from pneumonia. In a few short years, Seurat managed to create a remarkable style and influence many other artists in the making, such as Van Gogh, Paul Gauguin, and Henri Matisse.